Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to have with us Mr. Pari Krishnaswamy, a retired forensic department officer. He retired as an assistant director, and he is still helping the department with various kinds of inputs that he has been able to give. So I would like to introduce Mr. Pari through Angeline Barron. Angeline Barron is assistant professor from Chettinad College, and she is with us this evening to introduce Mr. Pari Krishnaswamy. Over to you, Angeline.
Thank you, sir. So, good evening, everyone. I would like to introduce Thiru Pari K. Pari, sir, is an assistant director retired from the Forensic Science Department, Tamil Nadu. He entered the department in the year 1982 and has completed 34 years of service and retired in the year 2016, out of which 20 years experience in the laboratory and 14 years of fieldwork. He has attended to more than 1,000 SOCs visited during his service. When working in the toxicology division, concentrated on the visceral organs of female infanticide cases received from the Dharmapuri and Krishnagiri districts, which are prevalent in those districts, and detected poison in 17 cases and thereby curtailed the reporting of female infanticide cases. When he is in field work, he assisted the investigation agency in detecting many cases by applying the scientific method and was awarded by the Director General of Police 7 times for his excellence in the profession. Currently, he has been conducting classes for the police personnel in Tamil Nadu Police Academy, Police Training College, and in-service training center in various districts. He is also the faculty guest lecturer in Academy of Prisons and Correctional Administration, Vellore. He has also presented papers in the national level conference held at New Delhi, Mumbai, and Jaipur. Recently, in January 2019, he attended a national conference on emerging trends in forensic science held at Bengaluru and was awarded second prize. We are very happy to have you with us today, sir. Over to you. Pari, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome, sir.
My thanks to Miss Angel and as well as to Joseph sir, who is the organizer of this platform. Good evening to all. It's my pleasure to welcome you all in this webinar session on forensic science. The term forensic science is already familiar with you. Some of the topics are already discussed in this webinar session. Through P. Ravishankar, who was retired Joint Director of Forensic Science, Introduction to Forensic Science, Cybercrimes on the topic, and Cybercrimes and Prevention by Dr. Kala, Professor of Madras University, and on the topic Forensic Psychology by Melvin Wilson Thomas, Professor from Jain University, Bangalore. Today, we are going to discuss about the importance of scene of crime and the role of forensics at the scene of crime. Before that, just I want to tell you about what is forensic science. This is the definition of forensic science. Application of science to those criminal and civil laws that are enforced by police agencies in a criminal justice system. What is the principle behind the forensic science? This is the principle behind the forensic science, Locard's principle. Locard is the name of scientist from France who formulated the basic principle of forensic science. What the principle says, when two objects come into contact, there will be always transfer of material evidence from them. It is also known as principle of exchange. The traces may be either left or picked up by the culprit at the scene of crime or from the SOC. This is the basic principle of forensic science. We need certain evidences to prove in the court of law. In general, the investigation agency produces the eyewitness in the court of law during the trial. Sometimes the eyewitness may tell lie or sometimes they may hostile. It will affect the trial and ended with acquittal. So we need physical evidence. What is physical evidence? It is in the form of an object either left or taken by the culprit is known as physical evidence, also known as linking evidence. The physical evidence they can give evidence in the court. They will not speak in the court of law, but they can give evidence in the court of law. Hence, also known as silent witnesses. It can establish that a crime has been committed and can provide a link between crime and its victim. So, the blood sample collected at the scene of crime, if it was matched with the victim blood group, it indicates that that is the place of occurrence. Like that, if the foot impression found at the scene of crime was matched with the suspect, it established that the presence of the suspect at the scene of crime. There are two types of physical evidences. One is class and another one is individual characteristics. What is class characteristics? Properties of evidence that can only be associated with a group and never with a single source. Example, the tire mark impression, footpad impression, paint smear, blood group, and broken glass pieces, etc. You see the first picture. It was a case of hit and run. In this case, the offender vehicle was not known. During the examination of the two-wheeler of the victim, we found some transfer of blood sample over the mudguard and also over the ports of the victim's two-wheeler. With this, we can say the color of the vehicle, the color of the offender's vehicle, and further we can ascertain the composition of the paint sample at the forensic laboratory. If the composition of the paint material, if it was matched with the suspect vehicle, we cannot say that is the vehicle involved in this accident. Why? Because the composition of paint material acts as a class characteristic. Like that, in a case of major theft, during my visit, we found some tire mark impressions on the earth nearby the SOC. It was preserved. Later on, based on this tire mark impression, we can say two things. One is the type of vehicle involved, whether that vehicle belongs to a two-wheeler or a light vehicle or a heavy vehicle like that. Then we can say the pattern of the tire. So based on these two information, we cannot say they are suspecting. We came to a conclusion that the tire impression was made by a light vehicle. After that, the case was detected and the vehicle was secured. On comparison, the tire pattern of the offender vehicle was matched with the tire pattern which was found in the impression at the SOC. Next, what is individual characteristics? Properties of evidence that can be associated with a common source with an extremely high degree of probability. Example, tire mark with wear and tear, footpad impression with wear and tear, rifling marks, and paint flakes with multiple layers. In a case of hit and run, during the visit, we found some abandoned paint flakes at the scene of crime. Then later on, the case was detected. Then we have collected the paint flakes from the offender's vehicle and we forwarded the paint flakes which was collected from the SOC along with the paint flakes collected from the suspect vehicle to the laboratory. There they conducted layer structure. If the paint flake is with multiple layers, then it acts as a individual characteristics. If the same paint fleck was with a single layer, then we can say it is a class characteristics. Here, since it has more than one layer, then it was the individual characteristics. In a case of murder, the body was the unknown body. It was naked body. No belongings or clothings are seen during the examination of the dead body. Hence, we have collected even though the body was in highly decomposed state, during the examination, the skin of the fingers were not found damaged. However, the skin was covered with decomposed fluid. The investigating officer removed the decomposed fluid with the help of a cloth and took the fingerprints of the deceased person. Later on, the deceased was identified and it was compared with the documents, the fingerprints of the documents which belongs to the deceased. It was matched and the identity was established. Like that, in a case of murder for gain, during the observation made at the SOC, we found a bloodstained bandage material at the SOC. During the inquiry conducted with the inmates, they said that it was not belongs to them. Hence, we came to a conclusion that the source of the bloodstained bandage material probably from the culprit source. Later on, the case was detected and the DNA profile which was extracted from the bandage material was well matched with the DNA profile extracted from the blood sample of the culprits. Hence, it is the difference between the class and individual characteristics. Transient evidence, it is also an evidence, physical evidence that might be expected to degrade or disappear within a particular time frame. Examples, post-mortem changes, smoke and odor, etc. Now, what is scene of crime? In general, the investigation agency, after the registration of the case, they will start the investigation from this SOC. SOC is nothing but the spot where the crime took place is the scene of crime. When they start the investigation from the scene of crime, they have to give much importance to the scene of crime. If any lapses at the scene of crime, it will affect the whole investigation. So they have to spend much time at the scene of crime and they have to conduct a systematic study at the scene of crime. What are the different types of SOCs? Indoor means inside if the occurrence took place inside the building, it's called indoor. If it is in open air, it is called outdoor. If it took place in the ship, aircraft, train, etc., are called known as vehicle. These are the different types of SOC. What are the basic crime scene tasks? These are the basic crime scene tasks to be adopted by the investigation agency during the investigation. The first step is protecting and searching the scene. After registering the scene, when they proceed to the scene, they have to protect the scene of crime. They have to protect. They should not allow any person enter into the scene of crime. And also, he has to evacuate the person, those who are already assembled at the scene of crime, by forming a boundary using the cordoning tape. After protecting the scene of crime, they have to evaluate the scene and evidence. That is, they have to look for the material evidence at the scene of crime and any foreign objects left by the culprits. After the evaluation, if they find any foreign object or any material evidence at the scene of crime, it should not be disturbed immediately. It should be properly documented. Only after the documentation, it should be preserved and forwarded to the concern. And that is the third, documenting the scene and evidence. How to document the scene and evidence? They have to take photograph, videograph, and by drawing the rough sketch and preparing the observation magazine, etc. These are the procedures of documentation of the scene. Then after documentation, they have to collect the material evidence and to preserve it, and it has to be forwarded to the concern. These are the basic crime scene tasks. Then some experts are assisting the SOC. Some of the experts are assisting the investigation agency at the scene of crime. The following are the experts who are assisting the investigation agency at the scene of crime. Number one, sniffer dog. There were three types of dogs. One is tracker, another one is explosive, third one is narcotics. The role of tracker dog is to fix the track of the culprit, how the culprit entered the premises and exit out from the scene of crime. The role of explosive dog is to identify the explosive materials. In case of bomb threatening, if any bomb threatening call was received to any organization, they will utilize the service of explosive dog to identify the live bombs in that premises. The service of the narcotic dog was utilized by the NIB, Narcotics Intelligence and Bureau peoples, to identify the narcotic substances either in the airport or railway station, etc. This is the role of sniffer dog. And then the police photographer. You know, photographer, anybody can take the photograph, but the police, why they are replacing the service of police photographer? He will take the photograph on crime scene aspects to produce the evidence in the court of law. So, third one, fingerprint expert. You know the role of fingerprint expert. He will visit the spot and he will look for the fingerprints of the culprits at the scene of crime. Crime in case of sensational case, and also if the body was in highly decomposed state, they may conduct the postmortem at the spot, and also in exhumation cases. Then the sixth one, cyber crime expert. He will assist the investigation agency to chase the source digital evidence from the scene of crime. In general, after registering the case, they will start the investigation from the scene of crime to look for any material evidence. In my experience, we will not get any material evidence in all the cases. When I was in service, I was in charge of mobile forensic science laboratory from 2008 to 2016. During my period, from 2008 to 2015, totally 40 murder for gain cases were reported. All the cases were detected. The culprits involved in all the 40 cases were non-professionals and all are first offenders. So, the systematic approach and the application of scientific methods and the teamwork was much helpful to pinpoint the real culprit involved in all the 40 cases. Hence, even in the absence of material evidence, now we will see, even in the absence of material evidence, how to narrow down the culprit by applying by the systematic approach and application of scientific theory and at the scene of crime. After registering the case, we will go to the scene of crime. And first, one more thing I want to tell you, when I was in service in 2014, totally 9 murder for gain cases were reported. In 2015, 7 murder for gain cases were reported. In 2014, totally 9 murder for all are brutal in nature. At the time, Dr. Vijay Kumar, then Superintendent of Police, he will often tell me, Pari, we have to detect this case. We fail to detect the case. he will commit one more murder. So we will take sustained efforts. The reason for the self-person detection is teamwork. We all, the investigation agency and myself and the forensic medicine, you know very well, related the investigation of cases related to bodily affairs, it is a teamwork. There were major role of three persons. One is investigation agency, another one is forensic medicine expert, and the forensic science laboratory. If any lapses it will affect the whole investigation. So we will sit together and we will discuss each and every step and we will detect the case successfully. That is the reason for the 10% detection. So now we will see the systematic approach towards the indoor SOC. First, we have to fix the entry and exit. These are all the possible entry and exit. One, how the culprit entered the premises and exit out from the SOC. These are all the possible entry and exit. One is from front entrance door. Second, rear side entrance door. Third, through the window or through the ventilator or through the roof or through manhole. These are the possible entry and exit. After fixing the entry, we have to ascertain whether the entry was free entry or forcible entry. We have to examine the entry point, the doors and the latches of the entry. If it does not show any evidence of damages, it was learned that he entered the premises freely without any force. If it shows any evidence of damages, that indicates that he entered the premises forcibly. If it was a case of free entry, it indicates that the culprits involved might be a known person. If it was a forcible entry, the culprit involved might be unknown person. After fixing the entry and exit, we have to ascertain the location of the dead body, where the dead body was found, whether the dead body was found near the entrance door or at hall or at kitchen or at bedroom or at puja room. So it has some significance. In a case of murder, the body was found in the kitchen. A lady aged about 40 years was found murdered and the body was found in the kitchen. It was in lying posture. It was in supine posture. During the examination of the dead body, we found a linear ligature mark over the front side of the neck and it was absent over the nape of the neck. Then, during examination of the entry, she is having the habit of always kept locked. During the visit, there were two doors in the entrance. One is wooden door and another one is a grill gate. She will always keep the grill gate locked even in the daytime. During our visit, we found a lock with key punch was hanging in the grill gate and the dead body was found in the kitchen. Based on these findings, we reconstructed the case that some known person came to her house and he might have been asked something to bring from the kitchen. When she went for kitchen, he followed her and all of a sudden from her beginning, he strangulated her to death. That on the case was detected and the reconstruction was well agreement with our findings. So that is the significance of the location of the dead body. In a case of murder, the body was found nearby the entrance, and also a blood spurt was seen on the ceiling above the entrance door. So we reconstructed the case that she could have been assaulted soon after the opening the door like that. That is the significance of the location of the dead body. After ascertaining the location of the dead body, we have to ascertain the state and posture of the dead body. The state means whether it was in fresh state or decomposed state. So, if it was in fresh state, there was no dispute in establishing the identity of the deceased. Straight away, we will take the photograph, even if he is known or even if he is unknown. We can take the photographs. Even suppose in a case of murder, a body was found adjacent to the road. It was a case of murder. The face was in identifiable condition. We take the photographs, and since he is unknown, in addition to the photograph, we collected the fingerprints of the deceased person, and we sent the fingerprints to the district fingerprint bureau, from there to the state fingerprint bureau, and from the state fingerprint bureau to the neighboring state fingerprint bureau. After 6 months, we received a report from the neighboring state fingerprint bureau that the deceased was identified as one ex-convict. After establishing the identity of the deceased, the case was detected and the accused were arrested. If he fails to collect the fingerprints in that case, what will be the fate of the case? Hence, even if the dead body was in a fresh state, if he or she was unknown, we have to collect the fingerprints of the deceased person. If the body was in highly decomposed state, in order to establish the identity of the deceased, we have to establish identity preliminarily with the help of clothings and belongings. Actually, a person should not be identified with the help of belonging or clothing. Hence, the identity should be established scientifically by preserving the skull for superimposition and femur bone for DNA test. So, next, the posture of the dead body. What was the posture of the dead body? Whether the body was in supine posture or prone posture. There were three postures. One is supine, that is lies on its back. Prone, second one is prone posture, lies on its front, or inclined means on its sides. What is the significance of the posture of the dead body? In a case of murder, an unknown male body was found adjacent to the road in a ditch, adjacent to the national highways in a ditch. The body was in prone posture, and nearby the head there was a big stone was found lodged on the head. During the examination of the dead body, we found a lacerated injury over the frontal region. Initially, we thought that it might be a case of road accident. During the examination at the dead body, two things we have to look for on medico-legal aspects. That is, one is the postmortem staining. But the postmortem staining is nothing but after the death, the liquid blood which was present in the dead body will settle in the lower part of the body due to the gravitational force. During the examination of the said dead body, we found that postmortem staining was present in the back of the body instead of front. Usually, if it was in prone position, postmortem staining will be present in the front side. But here, the postmortem staining was irrelevant to the posture of the dead body. Moreover, there was no evidence of any pool of blood or any spurt. If it was the place of occurrence, if he was hit by some vehicle and if he fell on that stone on the earth, if he sustained it during the fall, there is no any evidence of blood spurt or pool of blood. Only a minimum blood was noticed. And based on these findings, I suggested the IO. Probably he could have been murdered, and subsequently the body could have been disposed into this spot. Later on, the deceased was identified, and it was a case of murder, followed by the commission of murder. The body was thrown into that spot. This is the significance of the posture of the dead body. Next, after ascertaining the posture, then we have to study about the nature of injuries. There are two types of injuries. One is blunt force injuries, another one is sharp force injuries. Blunt force injuries are caused by blunt objects. Abrasion, contusion, laceration, and fracture. Sharp force injuries are caused by sharp-edged weapon. Examples of sharp-edged weapons injuries. The type of injuries caused by sharp-edged weapons are stab, cut or incised, fracture, perforating injuries caused by pellet, bullet, and screwdrivers. One more thing. Sometimes the sharp-edged weapons, but the edges will be irregular in nature. That is called irregular sharp-edged. The edges of the injury will be irregular. But in case of sharp-edged weapons, the edges will be regular. After studying the nature of injuries, we have to ascertain the type of the weapon involved, whether blunt weapons. Examples of blunt weapons: wooden log, stick, iron, rod, pipe, stone, etc. Sharp weapons, sharp-edged. Examples: knife, willow, machete, dagger. Irregular sharp-edged weapon examples: broken bottle pieces, hacksaw, sickle. Then, after studying the injuries and after arriving the type of weapon, then the source of the weapon. Whether if the source of the weapon from the SOC itself may be a case of sudden provocation or may be a case of self-inflicted one. Suppose if the source of the weapon from the culprit source, from the external source, means it may be a case of planned murder. Next, a systematic approach towards outdoor SOC. First, primary or secondary SOC. If primary SOC, evidence of struggle, blood spurt, pool of blood, and disturbances may be present. And next, whether the disease visited the spot with his consent or taken possibly is to be ascertained. If there were two, one is primary SOC. If it was the primary SOC, evidence of struggle, blood spurt, pool of blood, and disturbances may be present. Whether the deceased, then we have to ascertain whether the deceased visited the spot with his consent or possibly. If he visited the spot with his consent, the accused person might be a known person. If he was possibly taken to that spot, the accused person might be unknown. If secondary, mostly disposal. If the SOC was a secondary, mostly disposal. Hence, the mode of conveyance is to be ascertained, whether by a two-wheeler or by a light vehicle or heavy vehicle, or by if any evidence of any drag mark was there. Then we have to arrive at manner of death. How the disease died, whether it was a case of an accidental one or homicidal or suicidal. This is the accidental examples: road traffic, RTA, road traffic accidents, train traffic accidents, fall from height, electrocution, lightning, bite of poisonous insects, snake bite, etc. Then suicidal, poisoning, hanging, drowning, burns. Homicidal, stab, cut, beaten to death, gunshot, strangulation, smothering. These are all the different types of accidental, suicidal, and homicidal deaths. If it was a case of homicidal, then we will go for the collection of material evidence to narrow down the culprit. While collecting the material evidence, we have to concentrate on three areas. One is from the scene of crime, SOC. Second one is from the deceased. Third one is from the suspect or culprit. The search for physical evidence at a crime scene must be thorough and systematic. The collected material evidences should be properly preserved and sent to the concerned through proper channel for examination. Improper examination will give inconclusive report. The inherent problem of CSI. Every investigator who enters the scene has the potential to damage evidence and leave or pick up trace evidence. In effect, a crime scene investigator cannot expect to enter a crime scene without adding to or subtracting from the available evidence. The task is to be thoughtful, careful, and persistent. In a case of murder, the fingerprint expert developed more than 10 chance prints. Then we have a doubt that further we have collected the fingerprints of who all visited the scene. On comparison, out of 12 chance prints, it was matched with the 10 prints were matched with the persons who visited the spot. And like that, in effect, a crime scene investigator cannot expect to enter a crime scene without adding to or subtracting from the available evidence. The task is to be thoughtful, careful, and persistent. This is the purpose of CSI. What is the purpose of CSI? To determine if a crime has occurred, to determine identification of the victims, then identification of the suspects, then the collection of physical evidence related, then the reconstruction of the events to crime, establishing the link between among the suspect, victim, and the crime scene. These are the crime scene, purpose of the crime scene. Now, let us see some of the cases, how we have detected about the importance of the scene of crime. It was a case of gang rape. In this case, a girl who is a married girl, age about 19 years, was alleged to raped by 10 known persons. She was married and got separated from her husband, and now she was living with her mother's house. On the day she was found unconscious nearby a road, the passerby informed the ambulance and she was taken to the hospital for treatment. There they given treatment. Soon after the treatment, she became conscious and she stated that she was raped by a name-known person and two unnamed persons. During the treatment, the medical officer examined that girl. No external injuries related to the sexual assault was noticed. And immediately, he took the vaginal smear and it was examined in the laboratory, and the spermatozoa was not detected from the vaginal smear. He mentioned in the accident register also. Then the intimation was given to the police station. The investigating officer received the intimation and he went to the hospital and he conducted an inquiry with the victim girl. Since there was no evidence of any injury related to the sexual assault, because since it was a case of gang rape, and also no spermatozoa was detected from the smear, suspicion arose on her statement. Immediately, he spoke to the superintendent of police. At that time, I was in the chamber of superintendent of police. Then the SP madam told me, there was a case like this. No injury was to that victim girl, and also spermatozoa was not detected in the vaginal smear. It was mentioned like that in the accident. I said, my SP madam, okay madam, we will go to that spot and we will see. Then myself and that concerned investigating officer and the superintendent of police, we all went to the spot along with that victim girl. The first picture is the place where she has said to be raped by the 10 known persons. Then we went and we made a thorough search at the scene of crime. During the search at the scene of crime, and nearby in that area, near on a bush, we located 5 used condoms in a bush. And also, it looks like a cave. And when we conducted thorough search at the scene of crime, we found some crushed, dried flowers on the earth. and also evidence of broken glass bangle pieces and a metal hair clip. In addition to that, and also a small ladies pouch at the SOC. Based on these findings, we came to a conclusion. We came to a conclusion that something could have been happened related to the sexual assault. All the used condoms were preserved, and also the material evidence were also collected from the SOC. And the used condoms were sent to the forensic science laboratory. There they conducted examination and they detected semen from 4 condoms. The same was subjected for DNA test at Chennai, and there they extracted 4 male DNA profile, and also in addition to the male DNA profile, a female DNA profile was also extracted from the outer surface, washings of the outer surface of the used condoms. Then we have collected the blood samples of all the all the 10 persons, and we along with the blood sample of the victim girl. Then they extracted DNA profiles from all 10 blood samples and DNA profile from the victim girl. On comparison, the 4 male DNA profile which was extracted from the used condoms matched with the 4 male DNA among the 10 persons, and the female DNA profile which was extracted from the condom was matched with the victim girl. In case if we fail to visit this spot, what will be the fate of the case? Actually, since the reason for the absence of injuries, actually she is married and got separated from her husband and living in her mother's house. When she was in her mother's house, she developed intimacy with a boy. Both went to on the day, both of them went to the temple, which is a hill area. After visit to the temple, then they came to this isolated place. Already he informed his friends to gather in that place. They were in that place, and he forced her to have intercourse with all of them. But she refused. Then he physically assaulted her on the cheek, and he fell down and became unconscious. When she was in unconscious state, they had intercourse one by one. So the visit and the collection of material evidence was much helpful to pinpoint the culprits involved in this case. One more case. When I was in service, I received a call from a police officer, inspector, that there was a male body with burn injuries like that. Then I proceeded to the scene of crime. While before reaching that spot, I received another information from the same investigating officer. So one more body was in our same police station jurisdiction at about 10 kilometers away from this spot, like that. Then I went to that spot. I examined the dead body. It was in lying posture with a superficial burn injuries over the body up to the thigh level. During the examination, there was no any evidence of grievous nature of injury, either stab injury or cut injury. There was a feeble broad ligature mark around the neck was noticed. And also the external signs and symptoms related to the asphyxiant death was also noticed. Based on these findings, I suggested probably the cause of death might be a strangulation, and the burn injuries may be postmortem in nature. On examination of the back of the body, there was no evidence of any burn injuries. Hence, I suggested that maybe a case of postmortem to conceal the identity. Then, after visiting this case, I went to another case on the same day. There, I went and examined the dead body. It was also that in that body also evidence of strangulation was there, and also evidence of burn injuries. And in addition to that, there was a big lacerated injury on the head was noticed. Nearby that head, there was a rocky stone with bloodstain was also seen. The findings based on this with respect to the cause of death, both of them were death to the cause of death in both the cases were strangulation, and also evidence of burn injuries were seen on both the dead bodies. And in addition to the second body, in addition to the strangulation, evidence of assault was also there. Based on this, with respect to the dress code, we came to a conclusion that both of them may be from north side. With respect to the complexion and the dress code, we came to a conclusion that they may be from north side, like that. And I visited the first case, might be a disposal. The second case might be the place where the occurrence took place. The spot might be the place where the dead body was found. During the thorough search at the scene of crime, we found a feeble tire mark on the grassy earth. It was not much prominent. It was a feeble tire mark on the grassy earth was noticed. With respect to the inner distance and the outer distance, and with respect to the width of the tire impression, we came to a conclusion that tire mark might be made by a light vehicle. Then, during the inquiry conducted with the neighbors, an aged lady, moreover, with respect to the topography of the SOC, it is a very remote place. The accessibility to reach that place is remote chance for the external agency. Only those who have the knowledge about the topography of the SOC can reach that spot. During the inquiry conducted at the nearby the SOC, an aged lady informed that previous day night, a white colored Tata Sumo vehicle came to the spot and again left the spot at about 30 minutes after, like that. So, with respect to the topography of the SOC, hence the accessibility to reach that spot by the external agency is remote. The Superintendent of Police formed two teams because we are suspecting that the deceased person might be North Indians. In that area, there are so many industries. In that industries, so many North Indians are working. So a team was formed to ascertain the details about the missing and absentees of workers, North Indian workers in that industries. And another team was formed to list out the vehicles in and around the 5 kilometers from the SOC radius about the white colored Tata Sumo vehicles. The same day, the team started to work. On the same day evening, a police constable who visited a village saw a white colored Sumo was parking in that area. And also he noticed some vomitous material over the outer aspect of the vehicle. In the second body, we also noticed some vomitous material over the thigh region. Hence, he informed about this, that there was a vehicle. I have noticed some vomitous on the outer aspect of the vehicle like that. Then myself and the investigating team went to that village and examined the vehicle. During the examination at the vehicle, we saw some vomitous material also inside the vehicle with the odor of some insecticide. And also a packet diary was noticed in the dashboard a packet diary was noticed in the dashboard. It was wet in condition. On smell, it odored out some urine smell. Then, during the perusal of the diary, we have seen some Hindi handwriting, Hindi letters, and also a small passport size photograph inside it. Then some addresses, phone numbers are there. So immediately the owner was identified. The vehicle owner was identified. He was secured. During the interrogation, he confessed that he only committed the murder of both. Actually, they are first one is father and second one is son. The father is working in army, and the accused A1 is also in army. He was also in army. When he was in army, he gave money to the A1, accused one, for getting job in the army through some intermediate. He gave about 1,20,000 rupees to the A1, but he didn't get any job for his son. So he asked the money to refund it. Then he told this is the person to come to the village. They came by train to the Vellore. He picked up them and he stayed there. He asked him to stay in a lodge. Then next day he took both of them in that Tata Sumo vehicle. And being he is having the habit of consumption of liquor, all of them consumed liquors. And when he was in over intoxication, both of them were. First they committed the murder of his son in that place, and then since the father was over intoxicated and unconscious in the vehicle, he was strangulated with it and disposed the vehicle into disposed the body in that spot. So in this case, that feeble tire mark plays a vital role. If he fails to sustain the vehicle, the tire mark impression, and also the information given by the aged lady also played a vital role. So, in a case of murder, for the importance of the scene of crime, I will tell you one more case. In an isolated place, an unknown male body was found in an isolated place without any external injuries. The VAO of the village came to the police station and lodged a complaint that there was a dead body with any external. Since there was no any evidence of external injuries, the SHO, the station house officer, received the complaint from the VAO. He registered the case under section 174 CRPC. 174 CRPC. Then he proceeded to the scene of crime. Before proceeding to the scene of crime, he gave information to the neighboring police station about that one year is an unknown body. Whether you have registered any missing cases, you just send them to our police station like that. And also he gave messages to the forensic expert and to the fingerprint expert, being unknown. Deceased was unknown. So in the meantime, in the neighboring police station, a woman was lodged a complaint that her husband was missing from yesterday onwards. Then he informed that there was an unknown body. You go to that police station and like that. Then she came to this police station and she went to that spot and she identified the dead body that he is my son like that. He is my husband like that. But she has not raised any suspicion over the cause of death. Moreover, she informed that my husband is an outpatient. Often he will get chest pain. He may die due to the chest pain like heart attack like that. Then they conducted the postmortem and they handed over the body to the wife. The forensic expert who gave very next day he is visiting the spot. Then they told our forensic expert that it is nothing, said it was a clear-cut case of 174. Cause of death is due to the heart attack like that. Then he told the police officer, just I came here, I will just visit the spot and come back. Then a policeman took him to that spot where the dead body was found. During the search, he located a syringe at the spot at about 100 feet distance from the spot where the body was found. Initially, whether he doesn't know anything about the needle of the syringe, whether it is relevant to this case or not. Then he brought the needle to our forensic science laboratory. There they conducted the examination by washing. They took the washings of the needle and looked for the poison. During the examination at the toxicology division, they detected cyanide from the washings of the needle. So, since the cyanide was detected, we become alarming. Then we informed about this detection of cyanide to the police officer. Then immediately he brought the viscera to our laboratory for poison examination. During the examination, we detected cyanide from the liver sample. Now the cause of death becomes death due to the cyanide poison. While investigating the cases of death due to poisoning, we'll come, then maybe a case of accidental, or maybe a case of suicidal, or maybe a case of homicidal. In this case, accidental, we ruled out. We ruled out. It might be a case of suicidal, or it might be a case of homicidal. Then, based on the findings, since we located only needle of syringe at the scene of crime, we suggested that it might be a case of homicidal poisoning. If it was a case of suicidal poisoning, if the syringe along with the needle was found nearby the dead body, it might be a case of suicidal poisoning. That too, if the fingerprint developed from the syringe was matched with the fingerprint of the deceased. Since we have located only the needle, so it might be a case of homicidal poisoning. Later on, the wife was interrogated and she confessed to the commission of murder along with her paramour. So, hence, when we start the investigation from the scene of crime, we have to give much importance to the scene of crime, and we have to make a thorough search at the scene of crime. So many cases, now we have detected by, even in the absence of material evidences, by application of the systematic approach and application of the scientific theory, scientific methods. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for the session and for giving us so many cases to understand how exactly scene of crime is attended to and how forensic experts deal with the scene. So, audience, now you can raise your questions.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Mr. Pari.
Thank you, sir.
For giving us so many cases to understand how exactly scene of crime is attended to and how forensic experts deal with it. So, audience, now you can raise your questions.
Sir, thank you so much for your. Thank you, Mr. Pari.
Thank you.
It was really a wonderful session, sir. We appreciate your time and your presence for us this evening. And I know there are so many people who got Humpty number of questions. Before that, I would like to read out some of the wonderful appreciations that you get. It is a wonderful session, sir. Thank you, sir. And many have thanked you for this session. And yes, Angelin, I think you can read out the questions now. So everybody wants to have, again, we would like to have sessions like this. Really inspiring, sir. Very, very, it was very informative. Thank you so much. It was so lovely what an SOC really means to, base for the investigation. Yes, Angelin, you can take over. You can give the questions to sir. Angelin, are you there?
Yes, sir. There is a lot of appreciation pouring in. Audience want to thank Sir Mo. So,
not audible, Angelin. Can you be a little louder, please?
Sir, am I audible now?
Yeah. Yes, you can be a little louder, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So there is one question from one of the participants. Do you have psychologists in your forensic department?
No, we don't have psychologists in our forensic department.
Okay. So there is the next question. Sir, how do you feel when you are going to your first crime scene? How did you feel when you went to your first crime scene?
Actually, I am afraid of examining the dead bodies, but since a frequent visit made me easy to attend the cases.
Okay. The next question is, how can we differentiate whether the case of hanging of a person is a case of suicide or it's the hanging of body after murder?
Actually, while investigating the cases death due to hanging, what is our role? It was whether it was a case of antemortem hanging or postmortem hanging is the role of forensic medicine officer, the medical officer who is conducting the autopsy. However, we are also visiting the scene of crime. While visiting the scene of crime, we will look for the first, which is the point of suspension. After fixing this point of suspension, the accessibility to reach the point of suspension, whether it, then the ligature material. What was the ligature material? And the source of the ligature material. And then whether it was a case of complete hanging or partial hanging. And whether the external findings related to the asphyxial death, like that. But whether it was a case of antemortem hanging or postmortem hanging is competent. The medical officer or the competent authority, but we can visit the spot and we will see all these things, whether the point of the suspension, ligature material, source of the ligature material, and the external bindings related to the asphyxial deaths, like that. If any contradictions or any additional injuries are there, then we can say there is some foul play in this case. It has to be ascertained during the autopsy, like that.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, how do forensic experts deal with unexplained suicide? Unexplained suicide. How do forensic experts deal with unexplained suicide?
Unexplained suicide.
Unexplained suicide.
Unexplained
suicide.
Unexplained suicide. That means unexplained suicide means?
Sometimes they write a suicide note or they convey their suicide in some way, but sometimes suicide, they don't have any suicide note, neither does anyone know the cause of suicide. So when it's unexplained, how do forensic experts identify?
In case of if any suicide note, then we can ascertain the reason for cause of death. In the absence of suicide note and other things, during that is a part of investigation agency only. During the inquiry, the reason for committing. In many of the cases, Patina, the reason will be ascertained only during the investigation. It is not the role of forensic experts who is visiting the scene of crime.
Okay, thank you, sir. So there is a person who has asked, after MSc Forensic Science, to become a crime scene investigator, do we have to undergo any trainings?
No, we don't. We are not giving any special training for working in our department. The basic qualification to enter into our department is PG in any science degree. Only after entering the department, they are giving some training in our department.
So, what does one have to study to become a forensic expert?
No, any master degree in science. Any master degree in Tamil Nadu, the qualification for entering our department, any master degree in science, chemistry, physics, biology, like that.
Thank you, sir.
Sir Pari sir.
Yes.
There is one more question from Dr. Arvind.
Yes.
He is a psychologist and educationist. He says, how forensics deal with unexplained suicide?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I already told, I already answered for that question.
Okay.
This is the role of investigating agency only. Mere investigation.
Okay. Would be the investigator at SOC can find the sex of a person on basis of skeleton?
Fair?
There is a question from Ayush Sharikar.
Okay.
It says, would be the investigator at SOC can find the sex of a person on basis of skeleton?
No, it is not possible. It is not possible, but however, it is a role of forensic medicine expert. We are not concerned with that. But however, it is not, I think it is not possible to ascertain. In a case of skeletonized body, yeah.
Yes.
So, however, it is the role of forensic medicine experts. We are forensic science experts.
There is a question from Archie Tiwari. He says, sir, can you explain what is the difference between forensic science and forensic psychology? I think, sir, Mr. Tiwari, we had a, introduction to forensic science as well as introduction to forensic psychology. We would be uploading those, videos shortly. We are just editing those videos that has been given by one Thiru Ravi Shankar. He spoke on forensic science, and Dr. Mebin Wilson from Bangalore Jain University spoke on forensic psychology. We'll be able to upload those, and you'll get a real understanding of what the difference is, sir. Yes, Pari, sir. The next question to you is, does psychologists have any job in your department?
No, sir, we don't have any division, psychology division.
Yes.
In our department.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Angelin, anything else?
No, sir. Just a lot of appreciation to sir's session. Yes. So there's one question that was retracted. Yeah.
Tell me, Ma. Tell me.
So one person posted it and they deleted it.
Sir,
what is corroborative evidence in forensics?
Corroborative evidence means conclusive proof of evidence. We can pinpoint the culprit.
Yes.
DNA technique was the conclusive proof of evidence, like fingerprints, DNA, all are conclusive proof of evidence. Superimposition technique, corroborative evidence. That means based on the corroborative evidence alone, a person should, that is not, in the presence of other witnesses, evidences, we can take it as evidence. Only based on the superimposition technique itself, a corroborative evidence. Foot impression comparison, also a corroborative evidence. Based on this alone, they have to, while taking that evidence, other circumstances also should be taken.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. So there is another question. So what is the part of job for information security and digital forensics?
What is that?
What is the part of job for information security and digital forensics? Information security and digital forensics, how can they help in forensic department?
Actually, in our department, we have one computer forensics division. We have one computer forensics divisions. They are dealing with the cybercrime related on evidences. They are examining, but that I can't have idea. I'll tell you later.
Yes, sir.
Sir, are fingerprints helpful in detecting the criminals?
Yeah.
Are fingerprints helpful in detecting criminals?
Okay. Yes. Yes,
Yes.
much
Okay.
helpful, much helpful.
Yes. Sir, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Joseph sir. Thank you, Angeline.
Thank you very much, sir.
It was really a wonderful session, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We enjoyed. I'm sure that most of the people who had joined us today, they had enjoyed the session. We would like to have more sessions with you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Days.
Bye bye.
We would like to see more of your, inputs. Today's passcode for the day is 101056. Today's passcode for your certificates is 101056. And we thank you on behalf of Counseling Chennai, sir, for your valuable time and your presence, and for the team which has helped you, which has worked with you in organizing everything. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Joseph sir.
Yes. The feedback, you can send us mails. We will definitely take it up, and we are going to have tomorrow. The session is going to be again. It's a crash course on gatekeepers. The second part is going to be tomorrow. Those who had attended the first part, please, you can continue to attend tomorrow's session to avail your certificates. And not only that, the second part of the gatekeepers session on suicide and prevention of you know child abuse. That's going to be an amazing session for you all. So we welcome you once again. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much once
Thank
again
you,
for
sir.
your Thank you. Thank you, Angeline, for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah, bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye.